In the past decade, the most important thing has been the reformation process in terms of institutionalization of liberal democracy in Turkey. In 2002, we had a general election. A political party came to power with moderate Islamic background, and afterwards, after the 2002 elections, we began to see a new reform, and because that party had been ousted before from the power in the 1990s, and when they came back to power, the only way for them to hold on to power was to democratize the country. So was to create more human rights, more room for human rights and tolerance. This created also an opening for Association for Liberal Thinking, I would say, because we had been promoting the ideas of human rights and individual freedom in Turkey for a very long time. In fact, in the last 2 decades, for 20 years. This is the 20th year of our association. We celebrated. But in the first 10 years, it was very difficult times for us. The environment was not friendly towards freedom, but we have been continuing pushing for the freedom. But in the last 1 decade, we got a government which is willing to put all these ideas into practice. That was a momentous event from our point of view. This was perhaps not very intentional cooperation at the beginning, but eventually it worked out. And Turkey, I would say, today is much more democratic, much more free and tolerant society compared to 10 years ago. The next duty, task in front of us is to make sure that the government continues to make these reforms and hold on to the human rights ideas, and not only for their own constituency, but the whole people in Turkey. Association for Liberal Thinking believes in the primacy of liberty, and one of the related and inevitable freedom is freedom of association. Without freedom of association, we cannot experience the way of life of our own choice. And when we look at the situation in Turkey in terms of freedom of association, the biggest problem that struck us is the existence of compulsory entities that was founded by the state, and the mandatory membership of all the vocational groups. If you are a physician in Turkey, you have to be a member of the Physicians Association. If you are a lawyer, you have to be a member of the Bar Association. If you are a merchant, you have to be a member for the Chamber of Commerce. And what is worse, there is only one organization. There is a monopoly. So the purpose of establishing these institutions was to control the society through the vocations, through the professions. These professional organizations are not aimed to foster the quality of the services to the citizens, but rather it's the means to control society and to shape the society. They were shaped back in 1930s, 1920s, during the era of the single-party regime in Turkey. So we thought that we should have a problem with this. We should do something to change this for the better, for the freedom of association. So with this purpose in mind, we conducted a project. This project consisted of reports, research reports, and it consisted of conferences, and it consisted of media appearances, and finally it consisted of a reform proposal. And this took place in the last 2 years, and it was welcomed by the media. It attracted great attention, and very recently my colleagues at the Association for Liberal Thinking were invited to government's office to give a report, give a brief on our research. The reason for them to do this is that currently in Turkey there is an ongoing effort to outline a new constitution, and there is a constitutional article which arranges these professional organizations. Hopefully in the new constitution there will not be such an article and there will be freedom of association, and I believe that our association's work will make a difference in that, and the government and the other decision makers are being influenced by our views. With the foundation of Republic in Turkey, one of the first things that the founders, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk and his colleagues, did was to put this religion and society under the control of the state. And this was presented as secularism. And this was also presented as a prerequisite of being modernized. But the way they did it was, of course, not right. There is not only a single interpretation of secularism. I can differentiate at least two different understandings. The first one belongs to continental Europe. According to this understanding, religion must be controlled. Religion is superstitious. The other way is Anglo-Saxon understanding, which leaves religion alone. That is, the state and religion must be separated, and the state should not control society through controlling the religion. Our founders accepted the French mode. That is, the religion must be under control at all times. If you leave the religion on its own, it can begin to control the society, it can begin to control the state. So this should be avoided. And along with these ideas, religious people were discriminated, have been discriminated. Not only Muslims, but also non-Muslims. This, I believe, is against the basic idea of liberalism, which is freedom. I believe that people should have freedom of conscience and religion. This is one of the core values of liberalism.